This video, although not sponsored, is actively in support of the Relief Fund for Australia's massive bushfire threat. Across the country, over 1 million hectares of Australian land has been burned to the ground. Over 1 billion animals have lost their lives so far, including thousands of koalas, kangaroos, wallabies, birds, and other iconic wildlife. Your support is urgently needed to care for injured wildlife and restore their homes. For even just $60, your support could help urgent and vital veterinarian care on the ground and at scale across Australia. Please consider donating to the cause, as the links can be found in the description below. Australia is known for a lot of things. The adorable animals, the Sydney Opera House, the Great Barrier Reef, the Outback, but for the most part, 90% of everything that wants to kill you. The subject today might pick you off as a snack as well. Today's topic is the Burrunjor, better known as the Australian Tyrannosaurs Rex. It is described as being a giant lizard according to Aboriginal mythology, and based on its sightings, it is 25 feet long and has small arms ending in 2 clawed hands and walks on 2 bipedal legs. The Aboriginal people drew the Burrunjor as a fearsome creature, devouring cattle, camels, and kangaroos. The drawings that they make are unlike any known creature, except the Burrunjor. In the years that have followed, numerous sightings of it have popped up across the outback, often leaving behind a distinctive bipedal track with 3 huge toes between 2 and 3 feet in diameter, always alongside watering holes, riverbanks, and even dirt roads. Devouring cattle and taking away cows, something is stalking the outback. Sightings of a creature that should have died out some 65 million years ago. In Rex and Heather Gilroy's book, Out of the Dreamtime, The Search for Australasia's Unknown Animals, is the following story. Campfire stories substantiating Aboriginal claims are commonplace across the far north. Back in 1978, a Northern Territory busman and explorer, Brian Clark, related a story to me of his own that had taken place some years before. While mustering cattle in the Burrunjor area, he became lost in the remote wilderness of that part of Arnhem Land. It took him 3 days to find his way out of the region and back to the homestead from where he originally set out. He had not known at the time, but his footprints had been picked up and followed by 2 Aboriginal trackers and a mounted policeman. On the first night of their search, they camped on the outskirts of the Burrunjor scrub, even though the 2 trackers protested strongly against doing so. The policeman hobbled his horse, cooked their meal, then climbed onto his swag and went to sleep. Later that night, the 2 Aborigines, shouting intelligibly and grasping for their packs and saddles, suddenly woke him up. The policeman also realized at this moment that the ground appeared to be shaking. Hurriedly getting to his feet, he too gathered up his belongings, and shortly afterwards the 3 galloped away. As he told Brian Clark later at the Burrunjor homestead, he had also heard a sound, somewhat like a loud puffing or grunting noise, certainly loud enough to be coming from one large animal. When asked if he intended to include this incident in his report, he replied he would not because he feared no one would believe him. The policeman warned Brian never again to return to that area, because if he got lost there again, he'd be on his own, as he would not come looking for him. The region's cave art, thousands of years old, depicts these monstrous animals. Many Aborigines believe these monsters wander back and forth across the Gulf County and Cape York to this day. Back in 1950, cattlemen lost stock to some mysterious beast that left the mutilated, half-eaten remains of cows and bulls in its wake over a large area, stretching between the border country and Burketown. Searchers on horseback found huge reptilian tracks of some bipedal walking beast. They followed these 3-toed tracks with their cattle dogs through some rough jungle terrain until they entered swampland, beyond which was deep, dense scrub. However, it was at this point that the cattle dogs became uneasy and ran off. The horses were also uneasy and obviously did not want to go across the swamp. While most of the cattlemen decided their animals knew best, two men set off on foot with their carbines. The story goes that they soon come across further tracks in an open area beyond the swamp. While his mate searched about, the other man briefly spotted the dark form of an enormous creature, perhaps 30 feet in height further off in dense timber. The men left the scene in haste. Johnny Matthews, a part Aboriginal tracker, claimed to have seen a 25 feet tall bipedal reptilian monster moving through the scrub near Lagoon Creek on the Gulf Coast one day in 1961. He said, "Hardly anyone outside my own people believes my story, but I've known what I saw." In 1985, a four-wheel drive vehicle and its family of travelers, the Askies, heading for Roper River Mission, happened to take a back road for some sightseeing. Just before they were to pull up and turn around to resume their journey to the mission, they all saw, moving together across an open plain some distance away, two bipedal walking reptilian creatures a good 20 feet tall, respectively. The monsters were a grayish-brown color and dinosaur-like in appearance. The father Greg Askey and his family decided not to wait around. The consistency of the creature suggests it's real, even if what it is misidentified. Australia, too, is the most likely place for any kind of dinosaur to survive, with the continent close to the South Pole when the meteor hit and wiped out the dinosaurs. Australia today is large and largely unexplored. It's not impossible for a strange creature to go undetected. And when it comes to a lack of evidence, how many carry cameras out there in the outback? It's just sand. How many people have ways to save and preserve the footprints? These things vanish in a matter of hours. And then there are the Aboriginals. To them, at least, the Burrunjor was very much real, and still is.